Yo, what's goody yitty, y'all? It's your boy Remo, and I'm back with another video. Yes, it is a beautiful sunny day. And yes, I am at work putting these hours in, getting this overtime, making this money. I'm going to Nashville in about another month and a half, Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm gonna take my girl to the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah, shit. Why not? I gotta use up all this vacation time. But in the meantime, in between time, and at the scene of the crime, let me tell you all about this chick, about this tenant that I had that looked like the Peace Star Miss November. You know, I gotta watch my words here because, YouTube kind of funny style. Yeah, she was a Peace Star. And she looked just like Miss November. And I didn't know who Miss November was until the dude across the street. 10-4, thank you. But anyway, yeah, the dude across the street from me was like, yo, the new tenant looked like Miss November. And I was like, really? I was like, who is that? He was like, you don't know who Miss November is? I was like, nah. He was like, she a Peace Star. I was like, oh, okay. So I looked it up and I looked her up and I instantly became a fan. I was like, wow. And this chick looked just like her. I'm like, damn, I'm convinced that maybe that was Miss November. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. They look just alike. Maybe they was related. I don't know. But anyway, Miss November had a cousin that lived with her. You know, they moved in together, and her cousin was she was a, how should I say it? She was a stud. She was a handsome stud. Yeah, we'll call her a handsome stud. You know, because she was a good-looking stud. Sometimes she would dress like a woman, and sometimes she would dress like a stud. You know what I mean? But either way, she was cool peoples, and I respected her. She respected me. You know, we still cool to this day. We still friends on Facebook or whatever to this very day. And now, Miss November, she was cool at first, but she started getting on my nerves for one reason. She used to always love to party. She used to always throw fucking parties, man. I mean, every weekend, every holiday. She only stayed there 4 months, but she used to always party all the time. I mean, all the time. She used to party all the time, party all the time, party all the time. This bitch like to party all the time, party all the time. Yeah, she used to party all the time. All the time, y'all. My girl was gonna fuck her up because she partied all the time. So she didn't like my girl. And then I asked her nicely, to stop partying so much. I was like, you got neighbors on both sides, And she got all upset. She got an attitude. I pay rent. I can do whatever I want to do. I'm like, yo, I'm asking you, I can do whatever the fuck. I pay rent. I can do whatever the fuck. I was like, okay, all right. So I didn't talk to that chick no more. So then, the handsome stud, she worked and went to school. I respected that. She worked at, the handsome stud worked at this gas station / car wash, and she did interior detailing. And sometimes she would work 12-hour shifts. She worked at the same gas station that Lonnie Arrow from Happy, Texas worked at. I asked her, did she know him? She said she knew of him, but she didn't know him personally. And she said Lonnie Arrow had got fired because he whooped somebody's ass. I was like, damn. I was like, that sounds about right. So anyway, yeah, she worked and went to school. I would come home from work and see her sitting on the porch doing homework on her laptop, or she always had her face in the book. She was always doing something. She was very smart. And so the Miss November looking chick, she didn't really speak to me. She thought she was the shit. And I'm like, okay, you can think what you want to think. Just pay your goddamn rent on time, So one day I'm sitting on the couch, and Miss November had a boyfriend, and he talked like this here, man. And one day he knocked on my door. I opened the door. He was like, yo, man, is it all right if I use one of your barbecue grills, man? He sounded like a broke down pimp from the 70s. I was like, yeah, man, I'll be there. I'll be back there. Because I had 5 grills, man. I let him use the rinky-dink Walmart grill. He said he was going to barbecue some hamburgers and hot dogs. And when I looked, he had the cheapest box of hamburgers that he could find. It was in an orange and white box. I forgot the name of them cheap-ass horse meat looking hamburgers. They sell them at Hood Meat Markets. They in an orange and white box. I forgot the name of them, but he had some of them, and he had some bar ass hot dogs. I said, okay, I see where this going. So I was like, yeah, you can use the Rinky Dink barbecue grill. So I'll go back in the house. 20 minutes later, I looked out the window. It was him again. I opened up the door. He was like, yo, man, you got any charcoal, man? I was like, hell no, I ain't got no charcoal. God damn, man. I said, what you want me to give you the meat too, motherfucker? He was like, yeah, man, I hate to ask, man, but we ain't got no more charcoal, man. He was like, you ain't got none? I was like, nah, man. He was like, damn, where can I get some from? I'm like, you can get it from anywhere. I said, man, if you don't know where to get charcoal from, you don't need to be barbecuing. So he was like, you think they might have some up there at that gas station, man? I was like, yeah, man, they should. I was like, go look, man. Whatever. So he went and did his thing. I forgot all about him. I was pissed and irritated, but I ain't think nothing of it. Then, an hour and a half later, I look out the window, it's him again. I'm like, what the fuck? I open up the door. He was like, yo, man, you got any lighter fluid, man? He was like, man, I went and got the charcoal. They ain't no goddamn lighter fluid, man. He was like, just tell me you got some laying around the house. I said, nah, I ain't got none laying around the house. I said, who the fuck got lighter fluid laying around in the house? So I looked in the basement. I just so happened to find a bottle of lighter fluid that had like this much in it. And so I went outside and I gave it to him. I said, yo, man, you still need a lighter fluid? He was like, yeah, man, I thought you ain't have none. And then I was like, yeah, I thought I didn't either. I said, but I found some. I said, well, you want me to start the fire too? He was like, yeah, if you don't mind. He was like, I ain't never barbecued before. So I looked. He had the pre-lit charcoal, you know, the kind that, not pre-lit, but the kind that's already soaked in lighter fluid. I was like, oh, man, you ain't even need this shit. You could just light the whole bag. He was like, God damn it, I ain't even know it, man. I was like, it's safe right here, blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, okay. So I left. Now I look out the window. This motherfucker's pouring lighter fluid on it. I was like, damn, I just told him that the charcoal was already pre-soaked. And he lit a match and poof, he almost burnt himself on fire. he almost burnt himself on fire. I was like, these motherfuckers are stupid. I'm like, where are these people coming from? And he was a young dude too. He wasn't even that old, but he talked like a motherfucking pimp from 1975. You know, but anyway, yeah, Miss November came out, you know, trying to assist him. She didn't know what the fuck to do. A lot of these young bitches, they don't know how to cook. They don't even know how to boil water, man. And shit. You ask them to boil some damn water, they'll be like, what kind of water? Hot or cold water? These bitches are dizzy. Especially, I'm telling you, these black female tenants, man, not all of them, but 90% of them are fucked up. Fucked up. I don't know who raising these chicks. I'm glad I'm not in the dating pool. But anyways, yeah, so about a month later, I come home from work and I see the handsome stud sitting on the porch. It was early in the morning. I was like, what's up? I was like, how you doing? She was like, well, I'm just out here studying. I got an exam and I got a test and I got to do all this shit. She was like, I can't do it in there. She was like, this bitch want to party all the time. And she was like, she got people sleeping all over the house because they had a party and they they too drunk to drive home, too drunk to go home or whatever. So she said she come out on the porch to get a peace of mind so she could study. I was like, yo, this chick really serious about her, you know, about her schoolwork. And she was like, but I'm making plans to go back down to Alabama after this semester. She said she was going to withdraw and have her credits transferred to Alabama. I was like, yo, that sounds like a good move. She was like, yeah, because me and this bitch ain't gonna work out. She was like, we already done got into an argument. She was like, we're gonna be fighting pretty soon. And I was like, yeah. I said, I've been through it. I said, that's why I like having my own place. I said, I don't like living with cousins and relatives because it always goes south. It don't never work out. And I said, almost never. And she was like, yeah. She was like, but she was like, I'll be making a move. She was like, I'll keep in touch. I said, okay. So a couple of weeks later, I come home from work early in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was still dark outside. And I walk on the porch and I look over on their side and I saw something move. And I was like, what the hell? And I looked again. The handsome stud was asleep out on the porch. And so I woke her up. I was like, yo, what you doing? And she was like, yeah, me and that bitch had a fight. She was like, somebody stole, she said Miss November had a party and somebody stole her laptop. She was like, that was my school laptop. I paid a lot of money. She was like, all my information was on it. Somebody stole it. She wants to have any and everybody in our house. She said Miss November be putting parties on TikTok. She put the address on TikTok and Instagram, and any and everybody just show up. She was like, she don't give a fuck who she let in this house. She don't search them or nothing. Just whoever come and come. She was like, she don't even charge nobody. I was like, what? I was like, damn, she could be making a grip if she charged $10 a head. She was like, nah, because then niggas won't come. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. She was like, we got into a fight last night, so I ended up falling asleep out here and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, I don't feel comfortable with you sleeping out here. I was like, it's not safe. And I was like, go ahead and sleep in my truck. Because I had bought a Ford F-150 truck. You know, it needed some work. It had an oil leak and it had interior. It was fucked up on the inside. And I said, yo, it's always open, you know, because I got cool neighbors. Don't nobody bother nobody's shit. You know what I mean? So I was like, go ahead and sleep in the truck. You know what I mean? I said, don't sleep. I don't want you. I don't feel comfortable with you sleeping. She was like, okay, bet. She said, is it open? I said, yeah. So she slept in that truck for about a good 3 weeks, y'all. And I could leave her sleeping out on that porch. You know what I mean? And she had told me that, you know, she already said she was moving down to Alabama. And so one day I come home from work and she took out all my seats. She took out the seats and she cleaned the whole inside of the truck. She took off the dashboard some kind of way, armor all that down. I mean, she had the whole inside looking nice because that's what she did for a living. She worked at that gas station doing interior cleaning, you know, and detailing or whatever you want to call it. And I mean, she cleaned all up here. She cleaned the windows inside and out. She cleaned the door hinges. She took the glass windows out. She took them out and cleaned them and oiled the thing that you roll down. It was a $500 job, easy for what this chick did. It would have cost me $500, maybe even more. I don't know, but that was a token of her appreciation for letting her sleep in that truck because she really couldn't stand her cousin. She had told me her cousin was pregnant and didn't even know who the baby daddy was because she would let niggas run a train on her all the time. That's why she used to always have parties. So she told me dudes would come over there and taking turns, hitting it from the back, and they used to be filming her and everything. I was like, damn. I said, damn, that's some fucked up shit, man. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to put her out. I was like, because, you know, she ain't been paying rent at this time. And the chick who the handsome stud had did, you know, $500 worth of work on my truck. I was like, yo, can you do my car? And she was like, yeah. So I gave her the keys to my car, and she took it to the shop. She was like, yeah. She was like, I'll be back in about an hour. I was like, okay. She came back in exactly 1 hour, and the inside of my car was clean. So she cleaned the truck and my car. I really respected this chick. She, you know, she was A1 with me. So that Monday, a couple days later, that Monday, she had went back down to Birmingham, Alabama. I took her to the airport, and I had to work on evicting Miss November. And she was mad at me, and she was being disrespectful and shit. So, you know, my girl had words with her again, and so I didn't even have to do the paperwork to evict her dumb ass. You know, my girl intimidated her so much, she just left. But before she left, she saw me sitting in my car getting ready to back up. She stopped me. I thought something happened, and she was like, I'm pregnant. She was like, I can't move all my stuff. She was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know where I'm gonna go. And I was like, hey, that's on you. You know what I mean? She was like, yeah, but you know, I don't want to just leave all my stuff here. I said, I can give you the number to some movers. She was like, yeah, but I don't have any money to pay them. And then I said, what about all these dudes that be coming over your house, you know, partying and eating all your food, smoking all your weed, drinking all your drink? I said, can't you get some of them? She was like, I can't get in touch with them. I said, can't you you need movers to help you move on social media like how you do the parties? She was like, oh, I didn't think of that. She was like, I'll try, but I doubt if anybody come and help. I was like, damn. I said, so they'll smoke up all your weed, drink up all your drink, run a train on you, but won't come help you move if you put it on social media. She was like, nah. She was like, nah, I don't think that's likely. I was like, likely? I said, you's a dumbass bitch. How about that? This bitch, this Miss November looking bitch, she had gap teeth. She looked just like Miss November. She had the nerve to ask me if she could sleep in my truck for a couple of weeks. I said, fuck no. I said, kiss my ass. I said, you was disrespectful and rude. No, you can't sleep in my truck. She was like, well, you let my cousin. I was like, your cousin got more sense than you. I said, and she was about something. She was trying to broaden her horizons. She was trying to become somebody. I said, all you do is party all the time. Party all the time. Party all the time. And she was like, I ain't party all the time. I said, yes, you did. I said, yes, the fuck you did. You partied all the time. And she got mad at me. And then she moved, and I ain't see her no more. She left a lot of shit there. And I still talk to the handsome stud. Matter of fact, we went down there a couple of years ago to Alabama, and they showed us around. Her and her family was real cool. They took us to the 16th Street Baptist Church. We had a blast. I went to the Negro League Baseball Museum down there, the Civil Rights Museum. We had a blast. I went to that park. It was a park where they sprayed the kids down with water hoses. I went there. We had a blast, man. We had fun. I want to go back down there shortly, sooner or later. But yeah, that was the story about Miss November and her boyfriend that talked like this. I forgot his name. And the handsome stud. Yo, y'all. Yo, yeah, follow me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. Yeah, and then Cash App. Send your boy a Cash App donation at $Ream Team on Cash App. All right, holla at your boy 100.